Old Mutual has explained why it denied Peter Moyo access today. The insurer says Moyo was served with a second termination letter that has not been challenged or declared invalid. Old Mutual says Moyo and his legal team were aware that he would not be permitted to return to work. SABC News journalist Nozintombi Miya spoke to Old Mutual immediately after Moyo was denied access.
It's been high drama here at the Old Mutual offices in Sandton at their headquarters, despite a thwarted attempt by the CEO, Mr. Peter Moyo, trying to gain access to his offices for the third time. Security personnel and human capital did not allow him to gain entry, as they said that he'd already been informed that he would not be able to gain entry into his offices here at the Old Mutual headquarters. And to speak to us a little bit more about this, we've got the spokesperson for Old Mutual, Mrs. Tabby Tengiwe. Thank you so much for joining us. Mr. Moyo came here at the crack of dawn, just after 8 really, and he tried to gain access to his offices here, but he was denied entry. Just take us through that.
Ndombi, it's important to remember that Mr. Moyo has been served with a second letter of termination, which was served on him on the 22nd of August. That letter clearly stipulates that he is neither required nor permitted to return to work. Mr. Moyo was informed of this last night, and he still decided to come here today. I think it's important for all of us in South Africa to just remember why we are here. The reason that we are here is because the board at Old Mutual lost trust and confidence in Mr. Moyo. How did that happen? Mr. Moyo, in his capacity as a shareholder in NMT, paid ordinary dividends to himself and other shareholders of NMT prior to paying what was owed to Old Mutual as a preference shareholder in NMT. That is the basis on which the board then said, after several attempts by the board to get information from Mr. Moyo on that the board then decided that they had lost trust and confidence in how Mr. Moyo had acted as CEO of Old Mutual after chairing the very meeting that decided to disburse those ordinary shares to members of NMT. And that is why we are here. It is a pity. It is an ongoing litigation matter, but for Old Mutual's part, as Old Mutual, we have a board of members that is comprised of 13 people. And that board is taking very, very senior legal counsel on this matter. It is important again to emphasize that Old Mutual is not simply just acting on its own accord. We are acting according to the legal parameters that are set out. We are acting in the best interest of what is important to the shareholders and indeed the stakeholders of Old Mutual. And the board continues to take sound legal advice on this matter as the litigation continues.
Oh, Stabby, you know, one of the issues that came out this morning when Mr. Moyo was here was that he believed that he was being victimized by the board and that Old Mutual itself was not respecting the rule of law and the judgment that was handed down just this week.
There was no judgment handed down this week, Ndombi. What happened on Monday is there was an order that was handed down, which is comprised of 8 points that have to be followed by both parties in the build-up to the outcome of what will be the contempt of court charge and the hearing that has already happened. Old Mutual is a responsible business. We are a company that has been in business for 174 years. We have got board members that are senior members of business communities who are individual members of good standing in South Africa, whose track records are impeccable. They are comprised of 13 business individuals. When you do have the time, take the time and actually see who the board members of Old Mutual are. That notwithstanding, the board has been very vocal about how painful a decision it was for them to make in the very first place, to terminate Mr. Moyo. There isn't a board that just wakes up and decides to take such a tough decision. That's the first thing. The second thing that we would like to remind South Africans about is that none of this is a pleasure for the board or for Old Mutual. It was Mr. Moyo who made the decision to take Old Mutual to court on this matter. It was never intended that Old Mutual wanted to see this playing out in the courts and in the public domain in the way that it has. So yes, there is a lot of pain that is being taken by the board. However, the board continues to take legal counsel on this. We are an organization that respects the law of South Africa. Hence, we have taken this on appeal. Hence, we are still awaiting what will come out of the contempt of court judgment, which is still to be handed down. And once those issues are handed down to Old Mutual, as an organization, it is our right to take those, review them, and then decide how or what the next steps would be for Old Mutual to take.
Thank you so much, Nozintombi, the spokesperson for Old Mutual, just giving us some more comment and feedback and their response to Mr. Peter Moyo appearing here at the Old Mutual headquarters offices on Wednesday morning, trying to gain access. And they say that this has been a very difficult time for them, but they are following all the rules of the law to ensure that an amicable resolution is found to this very difficult time for all parties. With that, it's back to you in the studio.